Hello, my friends. It is Christmas Eve. I meant to actually film this video yesterday. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Anyway, the week before Christmas is always so crazy. Trying to make the Christmas magic happen for your children just takes some effort, my friends. And so all of my good intentions kind of went out the window. 2 days ago, which I was, no, 3 days ago. No, 2 days ago. Oh my gosh, it doesn't matter. 2 days ago, I thought that it was Christmas Eve. And I spent the whole day, honestly, the entire day thinking that it was 2 days before Christmas. And I didn't get anything done that I had planned on getting done. And it just felt like a giant waste of a day, particularly because we didn't have any internet the entire day and we were on the phone with Spectrum. They made me so mad. But anyway, we ended up having to get a new router, which was a pain in the butt, which means that a lot of what I wanted to get done 2 days ago ended up being done yesterday. So I wanted to film a video yesterday, but I ended up doing more Christmassy fun things with my family, which is just perfect. We made Christmas cookies. We made what I call Grandma Nellie cookies. Here, I'll show you. My great-grandmother, her name was Nellie Spencer. She was an English woman, and she used to make these delicious cookies, and so now we have passed them down in our family, and we just call them Grandma Nellie cookies. I'm sure there's an actual name for them, but I will never stop calling them Grandma Nellie cookies because that's what they are to me. And they're basically, it's just 2 sugar cookies with raspberry jam in the middle. And they are the best cookies in the entire world. I'm gonna back up a little bit. When I was planning on doing the video, I asked you guys on YouTube what you'd like from me, and I gave you a few options, and actually it ended up being pretty close. Today, I'm going to do a book haul, which was the option that won just by a hair. This is obviously not a book haul that includes all the books I've gotten since I sort of disappeared from YouTube 6 months ago. It's more books that I've gotten in the last 2 or 3 months, maybe just even 2 months. Let's be realistic here. The first one that I'm going to start with is the book I am currently reading. Earlier in December, I started and finished the book The Last Christmas in Paris, which I will talk about in my wrap-up. But it put me on this huge epistolary novel / just book kick. So I ordered 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff. This book is actually a nonfiction book, and it's a collection of letters written between this woman who lives in New York and this bookstore called Marks & Co. on 84 Charing Cross Road in London. And it's about this friendship that this woman, and particularly one man who helps to run the bookstore, I actually think he might be their buyer. His name is Frank Dole. It's about this friendship between those two people, but also Helene gets to know the other people, the other sellers in the bookshop, and it's totally delightful. This particular copy includes a follow-up where Helene actually travels to London, and that one is called The Duchess of Bloomsbury Street. I am in the middle of that one right now. I haven't finished it yet. First book from my haul, and actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do the thing that my friend April from Getting Hygge With It does, where she reads the first sentence and decides whether it's a 5-star first sentence or not. So this is the first sentence of Charing Cross Road. Gentlemen, your ad in the Saturday Review of Literature says that you specialize in out-of-print books. Not a 5-star first sentence, but, and I know I'm kind of giving away my wrap-up by saying this, but I can tell you that that first sentence does not represent the entire book. The entire book, definitely 5 stars. Okay, I also, in my rampage to collect more epistolary novels / books, because that's nonfiction, it's not a novel, I also got Meet Me at the Museum by Anne Youngson. Meet Me at the Museum is another epistolary novel, obviously, like I said. This one is letters written between a young woman and a museum curator, and I want to say that he's somewhere in the Nordic countries, like maybe the Netherlands or Finland. I can't remember where he is based. I never thought that I would be someone who loves epistolary novels as much as I do, but I love them. I love them. I find them all so charming. The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society and The Last Christmas in Paris just warmed my heart so much, and I want all the epistolary novels, so I can't wait to read Meet Me at the Museum. Let's read the first sentence and see whether it is 5 stars. An extract from the foreword to The Bog People by P.V. Glob, Faber and Faber, 1969. Professor Glob responds to a group of schoolgirls who have been in touch with him about recent archaeological discoveries. I'm gonna say that's not a 5-star first line, but I feel like it was really more an introduction than like the first line to a novel, so I don't know how to rate that one. Not 5 stars though. In keeping with my theme of warm and cozy, because I find epistolary books very warm and cozy, these are not epistolary novels, but I do get very cozy vibes from them. So the first of those books is called The Keeper of Lost Things by Ruth Hogan. This book has been on my radar for quite some time, but I actually recently heard my friend Jess over at Jess McGlynn talk about this book and talk about how much she enjoyed it. I just remember her saying that it was lovely, and I want lovely books. This book follows a man named Anthony Perdue, and I don't know if this is like a self-proclaimed title, but he is called the Keeper of Lost Things. Basically, he collects lost treasures. He curates them. He used to be an author of short stories, and now he's an older gentleman, and yeah, he lovingly rescues lost objects, the things that others have dropped, misplaced, or accidentally left behind. He decides to leave all of these treasures and his house to his assistant, Laura, the one person he trusts to fulfill his legacy. I don't know whether this book has a little bit of magical realism to it, but just based on the way this book is described, it sounds a little bit like there might be some magical elements. Like later in this description, it says that you meet a bunch of different characters. One of those characters includes a teenage girl with special powers. What those special powers can be, if there's no magical realism in this book, one can only wonder. So I suspect that this is a little bit on the magical realism side of fiction. Okay, first line. Charles Bramwell Broccoli was traveling alone and without a ticket on the 1442 from London Bridge to Brighton. Not a 5-star first line, but definitely intriguing. I'm so excited about this next book because it has one of my favorite tropes in it. This book is called The Brilliant Life of Eudora Honeysett by Annie Lyons. This is about an unlikely friendship between an older woman and a young girl. The older woman is named Eudora and the young girl is named Rose. Eudora has decided that she has come to the end of her life, and so she sets up an appointment to be, I guess, euthanized, I'm assuming. With one call to a clinic in Switzerland, a plan is set in motion, but then she meets little Rose, who I think upsets all her plans. I have heard really wonderful things about this book. It sounds so right up my alley. I cannot wait to read it. And the blurb in the front of the book says that it's moving and joyous, and those descriptors really capture both my interest and my heart. So I'm very excited to read this book. Let's read the first line and find out whether I think the first line is 5 stars. When Eudora Honeysett hears the flip-clunk of the letterbox on this particular Tuesday morning, her heart skips before she pulls it back down to earth like a rapidly descending hot air balloon. I actually am going to say that that's a 5-star first line. I really like it. Definitely. This next book I have seen on several people's favorite books of the year. And this happens to me every year. Somehow a bunch of people's favorite books fly right under the radar for me. And then people start talking about all these books at the end of the year, and I'm like, why have I not heard about that book? It sounds so good. Well, that has happened with this book. This is Dear Emmy Blue by Leah Lewis. This book is about a young woman named Emmy Blue, and I'm not sure if this happened when she was a kid. I have a feeling it was when she was a kid. because this book takes place when she's in her 20s, but it starts out saying that years ago she released a balloon, and inside the balloon was her email address and a big secret. And now she's in her 20s. She's in a job that she doesn't find very fulfilling, and her life and dreams and aspirations seem to be floating away. And that's the premise of the book. I'm assuming something happens to set things aflame. I haven't heard too many people talk about this book, but those that I have raved, so I'm really excited. Let's read the first line. I was ready, so ready for him to ask me. Not a 5-star first line. Too short to be a 5-star first line. There's no context. But it kind of sounds like someone's asking her to marry him. Maybe. Could be wrong. Haven't read any further to find out. So, Dear Emmy Blue, still really excited to read the book. It's hard to have a 5-star first line. Don't you guys think? Like, a first line, a really great first line, that's tricky. A really great first line is a tricky thing. All right, next we have another book that I haven't heard too many people talk about, but the people that I have heard talk about it have loved it. It's another book that seems like it's just right up my alley in terms of just warm, and like I love books that feel like a big warm hug. I don't mind, definitely conflict in the book, but I want the lasting impression to be like a big warm hug. It's just what I'm in the mood for right now, I guess, so I don't know. I'm gravitating towards this type of book. Florence Adler Swims Forever by Rachel Beanland. This book is based on Rachel Beanland's real-life relative. This is about an entire family in the summer of 1934, but I think in particular our protagonist is Florence Adler, who decides during summer break from college that she wants to swim across the English Channel. And like I said, this is based on Rachel Beanland's real-life relative. There's obviously other things that happen in the book, like her sister, who suffered the loss of a pregnancy, is pregnant again and on bed rest. There's a lot of people in her very busy household, and there's lots of tragedy. The sort of like condensed blurb would be, over the course of one summer that begins with a shocking tragedy, 3 generations of the Adler family grapple with heartbreak, romance, and the weight of family secrets. Okay, I don't know who in Rachel Beanland's family this is based on, but apparently this is based on a true story from Rachel Beanland's family's history. And that's how I'm going to end it, because I don't want to spend any more time looking. Let's read the first line from Florence Adler Swims Forever. Gussie Feldman didn't enjoy swimming, but she did like to lie on the wet sand in the shadow of Atlantic City's steel pier and wait for the tiniest ripple of wave to wash over her. Maybe not 5 stars, but definitely like a 4-star first line. I really liked it. I'm just not sure that it quite reached 5 stars for me. I have many friends in my life who I consider to be sort of book twins, and one of my book kindred spirits, this was like her favorite book from this year. So I want to read it, because if it is one of her favorite books from the year, I'm assuming that it'll probably be one of my favorite books whenever I get around to reading it. And that's Shiner by Amy Jo Burns. This book takes place in West Virginia, rural West Virginia, I'm assuming, and our main character is Wren Bird. I have no idea when this takes place. I was trying to find out when, like what year this is. Maybe it's contemporary. Anyway, she lives with her parents. Her father is it sounds like a charismatic preacher of some sort. They are, what is it called? Like, they're serpent handlers. The turning point of this book is when Wren's father performs an apparent miracle, but that miracle turns into a tragedy, and then it sort of destroys her life as she knows it, and she has to pick up the pieces in some way. I also should say that Wren is a teenager. Rich with love and loss, Shiner uncovers 2 generations worth of Appalachian heartbreak and resolve. A chorus of 3 unforgettable voices, a bold daughter, a reclusive housewife, and a lovesick moonshiner, reveal a taut and smoldering story of modern female myth-making in a land of men, and one young woman who must open her eyes. I've heard wonderful things about this book. Okay, let's read the first line. The first chapter, called True Story. Making good moonshine isn't that different from telling a good story, and no one tells a story like a woman. I love that first line. Definitely a 5-star first line. It sounds really good. I am not sure I can justify this next purchase. I got The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I have one other adult book by Matt Haig called How to Stop Time, which I still haven't read. So maybe this is the year for Matt Haig. I've heard a few people talk about this book and how great it is, and I couldn't pass it up. I just had to try it out. The Midnight Library is a library that exists between life and death in this world that Matt Haig has created. Each book in the library is a different version of the life you could have lived. So in this book we follow Nora Seed, whose life has been filled with, this book says, misery and regret. So she finds herself in the Midnight Library, and with the help of an old friend, she can undo every mistake she feels that she's ever made. And I'm sure this sort of explores the consequences of doing that, perhaps the sweetness of life. I really don't know. But yeah, because it says, but things aren't always what she imagined they'd be, and soon her choices place the library and herself in extreme danger. Before time runs out, she must answer the ultimate question: what is the best way to live? I'm eager to pick this up. I'm eager to read some adult books by Matt Haig. I know people for whom Matt Haig is their favorite author, and like I said, I still have yet to read any of his books. I didn't mean to say that. I haven't read any of his adult books. I have read his children's series, well, the first book in his children's series about Christmas. Oh, let's read the first sentence. A conversation about rain. 19 years before she decided to die, Nora Seed sat in the warmth of the small library at Hazeldean School in the town of Bedford. Pretty close to a 5-star. I really like the idea of books that both explore time and sort of alternate histories. It reminds me a little bit of that science fiction book, although I'm sure it's not as confusing, by Blake Crouch. Why can't I remember the name of it? Dark Matter. That one was like real science fiction, alternate universe kind of stuff. This is probably a little bit, I wouldn't say this is probably as heavy as that one, or, you know, like as mind-bendy as that one, but we will see, I guess. I don't think of Matt Haig as a very mind-bendy writer, but what do I know since I haven't read his adult books? All right, a nonfiction book that I've had on my radar forever and never picked up. My glasses are so dirty. Being Mortal by Atul Gawande. This is a nonfiction book that explores mortality. That's pretty much succinctly what this book is about. Atul Gawande is a doctor, and this is also a little bit of a memoir because I'm pretty sure this book deals with Atul kind of coming to grips with his father's mortality. This also, I think, is sort of a medical memoir. It looks at mortality from a broad perspective, so I think how different cultures or different places around the world deal with death and the inevitability. Like, yeah, I'm really eager to read this book. I just heard Krista from Books and Jams talk about this, and she loved it. So that gives me hope that I will probably also love this book. So this is the first sentence from the introduction. I learned about a lot of things in medical school, but mortality wasn't one of them. Not a 5-star first line, but that doesn't mean the contents aren't 5 stars. I have 2 YA books to share. Who even am I? I don't read a lot of YA, but there were 2 YA series that really interested me this year. One is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. So I have enough friends who I share reading interests in who have read this book and really enjoyed it and said that it was a lot of fun, and that made me want to pick it up. So Truly Devious is the first book in the series. I don't know what the series is called, and I can't remember how many books are even in the series. Are there 3 out, 4 out? Is Maureen Johnson still writing the books? I don't know. This is a mystery series, and it follows our main protagonist, Stevie Bell. Stevie Bell goes to sort of a prestigious private school in Vermont called Ellingham Academy. And Ellingham Academy is the home of a very famous cold case surrounding its founders. The founder is named Ellingham, and his wife and daughter were kidnapped. The only clue was a mocking riddle signed with the frightening pseudonym Truly Devious. And their disappearance became a great unsolved mystery. Enter Stevie Bell, who wants to solve this cold case. Doesn't that just sound so much fun? It just sounds like so much fun. I'm so excited to read that. Let's read the first line of Truly Devious. April 13th, 1936 at 6 o'clock p.m. You know I can't let you leave. I don't even know if that would be considered the first line. The first sentence really is, fate came for Dottie Epstein a year earlier in the form of a call to the principal's office. I mean, it's well written, but I wouldn't say it's a five-star first line. And it also kind of depends on what you consider to be the first line. Nevertheless, not 5 stars. Still really excited about that book. The next book I've seen several people on BookTube talk about, Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I think this is sort of, I have a feeling this is low fantasy because it takes place in our world, but not magical realism. Like, low fantasy and magical realism have like some similar elements to them, but this is not magical realism. This is fantasy. This book follows a 16-year-old named Bree Matthews, and I think the book picks up immediately after her mother dies. And she then, I think over the course of the book, or maybe even the course of the first few chapters, she learns that she is gifted magically somehow. Bree witnesses a magical attack her very first night at UNC for a program for bright high schoolers at UNC Chapel Hill. She also discovers a secret society of so-called legend-born students who hunt these sort of demon-like creatures down. That's all I know. But I do know that it sounds great, and I'm really, really eager to pick this book up. Let's read the first sentence. The police officer's body goes blurry, then sharpens again. Not a 5-star first line, but definitely intriguing. Like, why does his body go blurry? Who is this police officer? I don't know. There's not enough in that first sentence to really say whether it's 5 stars or not. Next, I would say this is sort of a modern children's classic. It's called Northchild by Edith Patu. And this book, Northchild, it's always been called Northchild in the UK. But I think here in the United States, this might have just been called, it might have been called East. I don't know. I don't remember. This is like a rebranding of a book that already has a title that people are familiar with. I can even think of the cover of the book that I would recognize. I had no idea when I got this book that it was the same as that one. Anyway, this is a retelling of the Nordic fairy tale East of the Sun, West of the Moon. This is an adventure story about a girl named Rose who makes a pact with a bear, an enormous white bear, and she travels on his back to a mysterious castle that holds a dark enchantment, a darker temptation, and the key to her true destiny. So, if you're looking for a good wintertime retelling, this might be what you were looking for. This is middle grade, like I said, I would consider this modern classic. I haven't read it, it's just, I know this gets very good ratings on Goodreads, and I think it's been around, it's been out in the world for at least 10 years. First published in the UK in 2006. But the text copyright is from 2003. So it's like 17 years old. All right, let's read the first sentence. I found the box in the attic of an old farmhouse in Norway. It was large, the size of a footlocker, and there were markings on it. Runes, I learned later. I'm going to say yes. That's a 5-star first line. I want to know more about that box that she found and why there are runes on it. Man, isn't this just the most beautiful cover you've ever seen? It's lovely. It's so lovely, and I have to be honest with you and tell you that I bought this book almost purely for the cover because it was so pretty. Last book, my friends, Echo Mountain by Lauren Wolk. This, I have to give a very big thank you to Al Crate Jr. because I got this book in one of their boxes. I unboxed it on Instagram. I meant to unbox this during middle grade March, and the world was falling apart in middle grade March, and I lost my game. At the beginning of this pandemic, I just completely lost it and was unable to do much of anything, least of all a book unboxing on my YouTube channel. But nevertheless, this is the book I received from Al Crate Jr. and I can't tell you how excited I was to receive this. This book was on my radar. It was released this year, so it's newly published in 2020. I knew about it before it came out. I'm so excited to read Lauren Wolk. She is one of my most anticipated authors. I've never read anything by her, but I own all 3 of her books now, and I'm very eager. Someone is calling me. Hi, Dad. Hi. Okay, this book is about a little girl named Ellie and her family. It takes place during the Depression, which has hit her family incredibly hard, and they have to move up into the mountains. They have to start over in the untamed forests of nearby Echo Mountain, and then tragedy strikes again, and her father is left in a coma, and Ellie wants to go in search of a cure for him. So she goes up the mountain, up Echo Mountain, in search of this old woman who people call the Hag. The Hag apparently is known for having healing secrets, but I think obviously there is some sort of surprise. The Hag and the mountain still have many untold stories left to reveal, and with them, a fresh chance of happiness. Like I said, I'm so excited to read Lauren Wolk's books. The 2 other books that Lauren Wolk has written are Beyond the Bright Sea and Wolf Hollow, and all 3 of these books they sound incredible. They just sound so good. So I'm so excited for this book. Those are all of the books that I have collected over the last couple months. It's been a lot. I did really well with my book purchases this year, and then we got to the end of the year and I went a little nuts. So how many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 books. I mean, it's not the biggest haul I've ever done, but it's a lot of books. Friends, I hope you had a very Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Obviously, this is going to go up after Christmas because I'm filming this on December 24th, Christmas Eve. Leave a comment below about which book here you think I should read first. What should I prioritize from this stack? If you've read any of these, let me know what you think. Give me all of your thoughts. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!